Welcome to some new r/malicious compliance stories, where people comply to the letter, but not the spirit of a request. I hope you had a great day. The first story is called 10 Minutes Later. This happened last year. I work for a shipping company. Boxes come out of a shipping container, get scanned into the system and put onto a system of conveyor belts. The boxes then come down the belts to a line of workers who remove said boxes from said conveyor belts and load them into delivery trucks. I work at the end of one of these belts. This spot is special because not only do I have to load my own delivery trucks, but I also get the boxes that others missed further up the belt. I have to take these off and put them aside in a special cart for someone to put back into the system later. At the beginning of each shift, we also unload from those delivery trucks the boxes that the drivers were unable to deliver. They go on the belt, I take them off the belt and put them in the cart. Because where I am is at the end of this whole process, we have the time to do this before new boxes get fed to us. And so I have the time to take care of these missed boxes before new boxes get to me. My job starts at the same time as everyone else's. Then my shift was pushed back 10 minutes. Because I am at the very end of this whole process, upper management decided they can save some money by having me start a little bit later. After all, it takes maybe 10 minutes for the new boxes to exit the shipping containers before they would ever get to me. Because their logic is sound, and because the system logs when my start time is, and because I do not start getting paid for my time until then, I decided to wait 10 minutes later than everyone else before doing any work. I warned my belt supervisor that I'm doing this, not that he can do anything about it, or had any decision in changing my start time. So now when the shift begins, several dozen packages begin piling up at the end of the belt. These are often ridiculously heavy packages in crumbling boxes, which the drivers left behind because they didn't want to deal with them. My supervisor has to get someone else who is on the clock to deal with these packages, which annoys them. The guy who moves the special car to deposit these boxes back into the system is annoyed, because he's accustomed to it being ready about 10 minutes after the shift begins. I'm annoyed because I have to deal with this pile up of boxes before I can begin dealing with the new ones coming down the belt. My supervisor is annoyed because this distraction at the end of the belt prevents them from doing other parts of the job until it's dealt with. The managers are annoyed because I'm sitting around for 10 minutes before I'm able to fix this mess. This lasted for about 2 weeks before I noticed my start time was now the same as everyone else's. The next story is called Just in Time. At the start of the pandemic, my manager recognized the impending logistics nightmare and that the company's just-in-time system might suffer from that. Some of the parts used in our manufacturing will run out within several hours if the routine delivery trucks don't show up on time. If our plant is unable to run, the other plant that requires our output stuff will also be forced to shut down, because guess what, they also use just-in-time system. The department manager agreed with my manager after holding a meeting with supplier representatives. They all told him that they were having their own problems with getting input inventory for their production, along with truck driver shortages and employees calling in sick. The problem was that the inventory orders would fail if you had excessive inventory, which tied my department's manager's hands. Someone in another department took the initiative of ordering extra parts after they started having delivery delays. All it took was an inventory audit, and they were forced to correct their inventory levels. Simultaneously, a few of my coworkers that were involved with searching for alternative suppliers couldn't make any headway because the alternative suppliers charged a higher price to make the parts, and the company would not accept that. My department manager promptly put out an email stating that until the corporate HQ changes the policy, there will be no deviation from the just-in-time system, no matter how many production disruptions we have. By the time the just-in-time system was revised to allow holding more parts, we had a few weeks of lost production time within a fiscal year, especially when one of the suppliers was hit by severe weather and was flooded. Of course, our parts from that flooded supplier ran out very quickly. One of my coworkers that was in the alternative supplier search found it hilarious because we could have avoided that issue by using an alternative supplier that charged about 10% more for the parts. And the other plant was also forced to halt operations because we couldn't deliver our stuff. For me personally, I had a project where a vendor straight up told me that they had no idea when certain industrial control systems parts would arrive to finish overhauling a station. But I also couldn't deviate from the original project plans because of how much paperwork and approvals are required to use substitute parts. It was a fun time telling my manager, we have no idea when we can finish building the system. The third story is called SMS Alerts. I work on implementing various kinds of enterprise monitoring software. I am, or my company is, the guys that arrive, install and configure the monitoring solution, train people and then move on to another customer. This requires a lot of input and back and forth with the customer, as doing/planning everything beforehand is not possible, as customers usually don't know what they want, what they need and what the tool can do, which are three very separate things. Part of the job is implementing what the customer needs, not what he thinks he wants. This particular customer was getting a full end-to-end solution, from network and server infrastructure to end-user synthetic monitoring. Think scripts that simulate a user to ensure the applications are working at all times and measure response times. Obviously, this kind of full-on implementation comes from high up, usually the very top of high up. This company is also the kind of company that if anything screws up, it's on breaking news. It is also part government owned, so the higher ups are not only rich and powerful, but they are also connected and political. Now onto the story itself. We are on a meeting with the higher ups of the company, think CIO, CEO, etc. The CIO in particular is a nasty piece of work. Though he is competent, he has a bad temper, no patience and is used to people doing whatever he says. He's the "I demand you call me Engineer X" kinda guy. The meeting was a technical one, to hammer out some monitoring details. These higher-ups wanted to be in on all meetings to get a feel on how things were going and make quick calls to any issues that might arise. A bit over the top, but it happens and is fine if they only intrude when needed. Remember, this was a tech meeting. The meeting is about a particular component, the network monitoring component. It has just been installed and configured, and we were in the tuning phase, where we select what alerts are relevant, what is critical, which network nodes are critical and which aren't. A core switch going down would mean 9 o'clock news headlines. Some Wi-Fi router would mean someone would get less network on his laptop. At one point we discuss alerts. One colleague of mine asked, "What do you want to be alerted on?" At this point all the techs and consultants were a bit tired of the CIO constantly, aggressively and impolitely telling everyone how things should be done. Mostly stuff he had little idea of how it worked. True to form, he interrupts immediately and says, "I want to be alerted by SMS for every critical event that appears." I and my colleague try to explain that is not a good idea at all. My supervisor also butts in and tells him that is not what he wants. His response was, "I am the one who knows what I want. I pay the bills, you do what I want. If you do not do what I want, you will feel my breath on your back." We trade a point amongst us that read, "He asked for it." I tell him that will be implemented during the day on Friday, we just need the number to send the SMS to. And so it was done. This network solution in particular is notable in the industry for being the best, but out of the box it alerts for everything. A switch has a fan that is not rotating, because it's supposed to be there but it's not actually physically there, so the readout says 0. That's a critical event. A network port has an administrative status of up, meaning it's turned on and should have a network cable on it, but has a link status of down, meaning there's no network cable there. That's a critical event. With switches numbering in the hundreds and ports per switch numbering also in the hundreds if not thousands. Obviously, network devices going down and things like that are also critical events. The trick is to figure out that for some devices that network admin status difference to actual link is a major problem, and that for others is just someone lazily turned them all on and didn't actually need to connect them all. The usual procedure is to SMS/email only on nodes going down, throughput going over a certain threshold, etc. But he wanted everything. So we gave him everything. We turned on all the events forward to the SMS gateway on Friday 5:59. Then we left at 6 exactly. He received around 500,000 events during the weekend. He tried to call my supervisor, me and my colleague, my supervisor's boss and his boss. Our team had our phones off, on purpose obviously. His phone received SMS non-stop every half a second for the whole weekend. Even if we were contacted, we'd need to go physically on site, but our security passes would not allow for that, and we were also not obliged to work on weekends. He couldn't have his phone off due to other duties, so it rang happily through the night. I guess at one point he put it on silent. Come Monday, a very angry and now quite polite CIO came round our post and asked us to turn that off. We did. And his phone kept receiving the backlog of critical events for quite a few days after, 24/7 until the whole backlog on the SMS gateway was cleared. That story in particular is why we have now a strong policy of never ask the customer what he wants to be alerted on/monitored. He will say everything. The last story is called Taco Hell. I travel a lot for work, and the last 2 years with irregular lobby hours I've been able to walk through drive-thrus to order food. Tonight the taco place, better known as Taco Hell, wasn't having it. I walked up to the drive-up payment window and asked if I can order and was met with hesitation. "I don't know, let me ask someone else," they responded with. "We can't let you order here without a car," following shortly after. I tried to convince them for a few minutes or find an alternate solution when a car drove up and they said I had to move. I stepped back, and as the car came up to the window, I realized that as they are in a car, maybe I can ask them to order for me, take my card for payment and pass me the food. The two folks in the car hesitantly cracked the window open a half-inch as I revved them as friendly and non-threatening as I could muster while wearing a black jacket, work pants and dress shoes at 10 PM in the dark. "Hello, I'm wondering if you can order for me. I'm staying at the hotel without a car and they won't let me order here without one. I can pass you my card even." Well, they agreed and asked what I wanted. I hadn't thought that far, but quickly mustered out 3 beef tacos with hot sauce, no sour cream. They responded with, "Hard or soft?" I smiled behind my mask as they had clearly been here more often than myself. Soft it was. The teller wouldn't let them order then and said they would have to drive around again, which they said they would do. By this time there was about a 5-minute wait, but they pulled through. I offered them my card when they were back, which they refused, but they passed me my tacos through their car right to me to the annoyed looks of the employees. I thanked them for being so awesome and happily skipped away into the night. The employees looked relieved and a bit dumbstruck as I walked away with my tacos, more trouble for all than it should have been, but the satisfaction this time was greater than normal. And with that, we end today's video. Let me know what you think about the stories. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the stories and today's video? I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. And I hope you have a great day. Stay safe. Bye bye.